Singapore looking resplendent early in the morning still. Many people are still in their beds, of course, and you can just see in the bottom of the picture there the thousands of runners setting out on this classic marathon distance. And of course, it won't be too long before they'll be joined by half marathon runners, and then the streets of Singapore will be pretty much full. Well, people running for all sorts of reasons in the different events. There's a group of visually impaired runners participating in the 10K category, and they're raising funds to promote sports for the blind. It's a truly inspirational story, and we caught up with them during their training sessions a few days ago.
My reason to run is to show myself that I can run this 10 kilometers and I can achieve something for myself. That's my reason.
I think everybody should exercise, whether you are blind or any other impairment of any other sort.
When I first started running on the track, the first day it was actually drizzling. So we were actually running in the rain. And I found it's a bit different from running on the treadmill.
The first time when I ran, that was where I've not been running for 12 years. And it's pretty tough because we started off with 6 rounds the stadium, and it feels like a 12 kilometers run after that. I was really panting very hard, and it's really tough.
For me, because I'm totally blind, so whenever I run, I need a guide, especially when I'm doing outdoor runs, like for example over here.
Well, what happened, with this initiative that we started actually was with a colleague of mine. So we started saying, you know what, let's get guides, in Standard Chartered. Let's help these visually handicapped folks to run, give them an opportunity to play sports and to have an objective in life.
My role as a guide for the visually impaired is basically to be their eyes. So it's quite challenging. It was more challenging than I expected. You find yourself learning how to communicate much more effectively. Things which seem so ordinary when you're running with other people or walking with other people. When you're running with somebody who's visually impaired, you need to be very clear. So you need to tell them exactly what's coming up and when, very specific information.
What we do when we run is, while we are running, we are bonding with each other. So we run to bond, or we bond to run. Or bonding is very important. The friendships we build over running and all that, because when you build that particular friendship with anybody, you establish a sort of communication, and you are able to communicate with them more effectively, and they're able to do the same for you as well.
It's a lot of mental determination for me, because running outside, I will just listen out for surroundings and smell, and I won't get to see stuff, but sometimes my guide will tell me, what's around, so that keeps me going as well. I really hope that one day I have a kind of a talking camera that speaks out what's around me.
Whatever it is, I just wish to finish up whatever it is. Even if I crawl, I will still finish up the race. That's my main goal for that day.
Okay, and I just saw a glimpse of John Coleman who's fallen off the back of this lead group, and there's 1 or 2 surprises in here. We've mentioned Kennedy Leland, important race for him, showing that he's very good in this part of the world, performing well. We've got Luke Cabet, the record holder, former winner. Barmao, been in good form this year. Koskai, he's a new emerging athlete. And then one which we weren't too sure about, Patrick Tambwe, wearing 10075, and Wale of Ethiopia. We've got the former winner, Kenneth Wangara is there, Daniel Kiprikut is there, and also last year's winner. Charles is doing well, he's hanging on, still in the group there. So there's plenty still to happen. This is too big a group, and it won't be long before it starts to break up.
nak kena tepat boy. Kedudukan motor nak kena tepat tu yang kadang melilau tu.
The elite men there making a flurry for the drinks at the drinks counter. And as we said, you know, the drinks counter can be a tricky place. We have seen a number of runners trip up at the drinks counter before. This, of course, not the drinks counter where the elite athletes have their ready-made drinks for them. These ready-made drinks that they have prepared for them, they have them strategically placed at certain points, and I think they drink them only twice during the race.
It really depends. You can have more. I'm not sure how many of these guys are that well organized. Usually in the big events, the elite athletes, they have to put their drinks in the night before. They're and then they're guarded in case anyone messes around with them. And they have different ways of identifying them. They'll sometimes put a little flag, or wrap something around it. It's a bit like when you want your bag going around the carousel in the airport. You want to be able to identify it apart from anyone else. So they'll have something on there, and they'll take them at different points. Water, though, at the end of the day, is what they absolutely will not miss. What you'll see with elite runners is they take water early. They don't drink a lot. You don't want to wait until you're thirsty. That's too late. You have to keep drinking small amounts on a very regular basis and keep yourself topped up, if you like. Once you feel thirsty, that's too late. You're dehydrated then, and it's pointless sort of gulping water down. And of course, if you're running fast, that's not something you want to be spending time doing. It's only going to it's not going to help you maintain your rhythm, etc. So these guys drink regularly and make sure that if they have put their drinks out, they know where they are, and they make sure they get access to them. Just watching this, this is after the turnaround point, and Uday, you were saying these are the paths that people run and cycle on. But, when there are turns when it gets in the second half of the race, drink stations and turns are where you might make a break. Because if you can it's what we call the invisible elastic band. You see what that group there, what he did there, Leland, when he turned that corner, put a bit of a burst on, and it suddenly breaks everything up. And those 3 or 4 meters, when you're in the rhythm, are hard to get back when you're tired. It's easy in the early stages, but in the second half of the race, those gaps, and then all of a sudden, psychologically, when that elastic band snaps, as it were, and you become 5 meters adrift, quickly turns into 10 meters, 20 meters, 50 meters, and you're never going to get back. So turns, water stations, really good places just to put the foot down a little bit and see if you can shake things up, break the group up a little, which is what he did there.
And we did see him extend his arm out a little bit. Well, what part of that strategy is that?
I think he was trying to avoid I think he was trying to avoid the bike, or it was a sharp turn. I think he was just doing that for balance, to be fair. So he looks okay. And he, as I said earlier on, I think I'd marked him down as a little bit of a danger in this race, and he looks very comfortable to me. One or two of the others slightly less so, but I'm pleased to see last year's winner Charles on the right hand side there, of course, wearing number 1, Charles Camiao. Tall figure in the yellow, not very well known. I said earlier on, Patrick Tamboué, now runs for France actually, and he's run a big personal best this year in a race in Israel, running on 2:07. Now that's quick. That's almost getting right up into top world-class marathon running. So, and that's a bit of a surprise in that race. I'm not saying I'm not sure about that result, but it's something which sometimes you have to be a little bit careful about the results that you see. Still dark, and the headlights just illuminating the runners from behind as they carry on making their way through East Coast Park. And they'll see the city backdrop now. They're heading back towards the city along the waterfront. And as I said, this is where the race starts to get interesting. Well, last year's winner, this is the first time we've seen Charles at the front. I said he was looking fairly comfortable, and just while there was a little bit of a hiatus in terms of the pace, it looked as though things were just backing up a little bit. He's gone to the front for the first time and maybe reliving the great memories of last year. You said in the beginning of the show, Uday hasn't raced at all this year, and wasn't looking totally confident, I have to say, at the press conference the other day, but so far